So welcome to Shading with Suzie and Samir. Will be our first segment today. So I think that it's important to start at the beginning, which is, for me, even if you look at like ancient cultures and stuff, you realize that it's stories that we carry forward as we grow and develop, and how our history is stored as well. But if we look at collective healing and we look at ourselves as individuals as well, we realize that we all hold stories. And within the stories, it captures different aspects of who we are as individuals and different levels of our identity and the different versions of ourselves as well. So I think before we delve deeply into any topic or subject matter or anything, it's important to kind of understand our story as well and what brings us here into the space to share with you. So I think let's start with the question, Suzie. Who is Suzie and what brings her here today?
Great question. If you find out, let me know. Samir, thanks. It's been such a journey with you of friendship over the years through our working platforms, and we've always had this common ground of personal growth and personal development. So catching up with you and creating the Suzie and Samir chat show, if it be that, I'm really excited about. It's something I've been wanting to do for ages. So yes, okay. So who is Suzie? Who is Suzie now? Because the Suzie that was seems to be so long ago, as is the world that is evolving, and when we certainly met each other in the work environment. So who is Suzie now? Is a great question, because I've been on that journey of finding me. It's been a personal development journey, I think probably most of my life, but in the last decade, probably even more, 20 years I can remember clearly. I started on a journey of like, there has to be more. I couldn't believe that I was so stagnant in whatever I was doing. So the last decade, it really sped up. It sped up with so much personal development, even within career that I chose. Personal development was where I was directed the whole time. But there was still more. There's so many layers of personal growth. And I think my big reset was, I know my big reset was at the beginning of 2019. 2019 was when I did something really massive. I was feeling bogged down with my total existence. And so I sold up everything. Not recommended for everybody unless you are on the path. But I was so stuck. Everything that I was being directed to career-wise, nothing was lining up. And my being, my heart, my life, and my life force inside me was, I was dead. I was so lost. And I think that's when we probably met, just before all of that. And I wasn't in the right space. I wasn't in the right space career-wise. It wasn't filling my soul. And it's so funny because my reset happened a year before lockdown. So it was as if I was making space and paving the way for this international lockdown as well. Like, I got my energies already. So I sold up everything at the beginning of 2019, and I literally sort of put my hands up and said, take me, like, use me, guide me, whatever forces there are out there, whatever I'm doing as a human being. I'm not happy. I was miserable, and I was so trapped within my own stories, financially, emotionally, spiritually. And so I put myself out to the powers that be, and I land up, for the last 3 years, 10 months, I've actually landed up having quite a gypsy journey of traveling. Literally, it's been a calling. It was a calling to come down to Cape Town in 2016, and in 2019, it literally was a calling to get rid of everything, put a few boxes in storage. And so I went on a journey of house sitting, staying in different places, that I landed up literally peeling the onion layers away of what was not serving me, and trying to find myself. But I didn't realize it would take me so deep and really deep, as you know, in my personal journey, which put me in a position where it didn't matter what business I tried to connect with, nothing was sticking, because my personal journey and personal finding was priority. And so I find myself, after 3 years and 10 months to this day, in a space now where I have really met me. I've met me at a really deep level. And I've done it with decluttering, moving away from the earthly, material bindings that I had in my life. It was my journey to free myself from all of that, and to find myself in a place where I'm at total peace now. I have found me. It's been an inside job. And it's this inside job that I'm looking forward to unpacking with you and sharing with all of those who find themselves drawn to this channel, as a spiritual being, and realizing who we are than just being a human. I've really taken a step back and really been shown my gifts in this world now as a spiritual being, and as now a spiritual being having a human experience. I can now share more about who we are as beings. And it's been an epic journey, and not for the faint-hearted. But here I am, so still in Cape Town, and creating my world from another whole point of view that I didn't realize was out there. So that's my path in a summary to now.
Okay. Yeah.
And you, Samir, because I know we've been on this path together of personal development. What's yours brought you to this point, and why you?
Well, I actually ironically asked the question because I never truly know how to answer the question when someone asks, like, who are you? Because I'm like, Samir, like, obviously. But further than that, it's like, there's so many different facets to who I am. And I always ask the person who asked the question, like, what is it that you're actually asking? Like, what do you want to know? Do you want to know my job? Do you want to know my faith? Do you want to know that I'm a father, a husband, a brother, a son? Like, which aspect of my life are you asking it for? I mean, we are talking about personal development now. So I think, to summarize my journey into spirituality and self-development, and basically into the self, it probably started consciously, properly, where I focused into it when I was 14 years old. And I mean, I was this little boy who experienced various forms of trauma and abuse, and being bullied, and then perpetuating the cycle of bullying, and kind of becoming the bully, and then realizing, like, just after 14, 16, that I'm I'm basically the person who is perpetuating what happened to me and that something needs to shift. And I had this call towards like psychology and the mind to because I felt that it's quite powerful. But I mean, if I take steps back, um, and my mom would tell you as well, like the first job, the first career or anything that I wanted to do was to be Superman. And it was literally to serve people, to protect, to safeguard. And then thereafter, it was like wanting to be a fireman or a fighter pilot for the same reasons, just to be there for people and to assist in any way I could. And then, like, the more realistic, in inverted commas, was the psychology. And I think even that has been a journey because my initial attraction towards psychology and the mind and mindfulness and mental health wasn't actually from a positive space necessarily. So, in my family, extended family, the language or the way of communication was through manipulation. And it's like there was this notion of if you want to thrive in life, you need to become like this master manipulator. So I was delving into all these fields initially, not to heal myself, but to become that master manipulator so I can succeed in life, whatever that meant at the stage. And then I became very good at it. I delved into hypnosis, covert hypnosis, NLP, various other psychological modalities. But with what I now realize was the wrong intention. And then after I was doing it for a while, I realized that I've become the people I dislike. And it kind of shook me to the core. And then I realized that these tools that I've learned was actually intended for like healing purposes, to actually serve people, which was something that I've always wanted to do since young. But somewhere along the journey, I kind of lost track of it, potentially due to the trauma or the various experiences I've had. And I'm just glad that I kind of found myself in a space where I wanted to serve again and I wanted to assist in other people's healing processes and other people's journey instead of trying to bring about harm and doing anything that I need to do to be on top. Or, and I just kind of over that journey, I realized that success doesn't look like a certain way. It's that we define success for ourselves and then strive to achieve it. And that's when I realized the beauty of psychology and some other fields that I explored. Because initially, I actually wasn't studying psychology. I was studying, well, like a triple major in philosophy, English literature, and organizational psychology. And I heard a definition of organizational psychology that I didn't agree with, where they basically defined happiness. And the definition was that happiness is determined by the organization. And it's looking at how to make people happy by the definition of the company. So it wasn't about like true happiness for an individual. And then one of my very close friends had a quite a bad accident and flatlined, I think like 7, 8 times. And then, like, yes, there was trauma attached to that, but it got me very interested in healing. Then my journey into like Chinese medicine and acupuncture and energy healing started. And I delved quite deeply into that, doing various courses and, well, the Chinese medicine and herbology as well. Although I didn't really finish that as well because there wasn't really emphasis on the mind and psychology, which originally appealed to me. And that's when my journey properly into like applied psychology, community mental health, community intervention started. And that, I think that's when my true nature started revealing itself, where I now realize that I'm a space holder and I'm able to see people for who they are and assist them in connecting with their gifts and expressing their divine spark in a way that really resonates with them. And for a long time, I actually didn't use my first name, Samir. I used Charlie because in my mind, it was like Charlie's playful, Charlie's fun. And it was also to kind of dissociate with the Islamic faith, because I associated it like with my stepdad, and we just didn't really get on or see eye to eye. And there was a whole other range of stuff that happened there. And I wanted to dissociate. And it was much later, in the last probably 4 or 5 years, that I've actually reclaimed my name. And I actually went on this journey of like, what does it mean? And then I saw that there's multiple roots for my name, one being like a gentle breeze, another being a pleasant companion who shares stories around a fire. And the one that appealed most to me was a wisdom keeper who tells stories around the fire, which is kind of related to a healer, or because the keepers of wisdom at the time were like the shaman, the ancient peoples, the people who continued like lineage and held onto heritage and tradition of ways past. And then I was like, that's actually kind of the work I do. So it's like my name embodies me. And that's why, like, when you asked the question earlier, I said it kind of tongue in cheek that who I am is me because I embody my name through my work.
And you do indeed, that's for sure. And it's so funny because you've got, I know I've put my name as Suzanne in,
Mm,
I think I've started using my full name again. And Suzanne means lily or rose in Hebrew.
mm,
Yeah, lily or rose. And I've even got a rose tattoo. Like I've always been drawn to roses and lilies, funny enough. I've got a pond, I'm sitting next to a pond here with water lilies.
yeah.
So one's name, it's very important to identify with oneself. But what is the name? I
Mm,
mean, so many people have renamed themselves. And
yeah.
definitely wisdom keeper, that is you. And it is your medicine. You know,
Mm,
it's an interesting journey being on the shamanic path in a world that hasn't, in Sydney, in my world, that I wasn't exposed to shamanism as your
mm,
internal medicine that you have to give the world. I wasn't exposed to any of it. So all of it was a journey that I've been on the last decade, was totally luck of the draw of what I was finding out about
mm,
myself and realizing now being the medicine, like actually being the embodiment of the medicine.
mm.
And so I don't mind if I'm called Suzie. I have my YouTube channel, Suzie Says. But Suzanne, suddenly it also feels more grown up. Like maybe people take me more seriously if I'm a Suzanne rather than a
Yeah.
Suzie. Because I've also, I mean, it's, I think I've grown into my name. I'm something like grown up. Although I'm not grown up, I've actually a very happy child within this, a
Yeah.
child within my human body. Yeah, like you also went through the stages of studying, seeking, So aromatherapy, reflexology, I did baby massage for years, working with a lot of prem babies, teaching mothers and fathers how to touch their babies correctly, healthily, teaching the babies that they can say no in their body language. So I did my thesis on touch, and I've always been intrigued with touch for healthy healing, and always wonder what I could, or where I could put my hands healthily with all this energy that was coming through me, not realizing that we all have this energy in us. Like the energy class I never got, that 101 wasn't in my schooling. And so over the last decade has been definite. It's been a highlight for my growth of getting all these downloads and understanding how we actually put together as energy beings. But I had to do it on me first. Like there was no point going to just speak it like, you go do. Whereas actually I had to go do it. I have to be it. So my journey over the past few years of literally, and Samir, I just left the world. Energetically, it was so noisy out there. And I think that's where, if anyone's listening to this, it's okay to withdraw. It really is. It's okay to take a step back and like, what is serving me and how am I feeling? And so lockdown was a gift to the world, the energetic reset of like landing. I had to sit down. I had to sit down and stop. And it was
so fascinating that you say that, because I was actually chatting to my cousin yesterday, and she was saying that it's the first time that she's actually had an opportunity to just be with herself. And she said, like, in the beginning, it was super challenging. But as she grew accustomed to it, she now feels that it's got like an addictive quality to just be on your own. And that is quite, she didn't say healing, but like, it's got this beautiful quality of kind of bringing you back home.
absolutely.
And one of my coaches and therapists in the past actually said something that I found very interesting. She said that we think that we learn things over time, but we only know that we've learned something once we've embodied it and we're actually living the teaching, not trying to teach the teaching. And I thought that was quite profound.
It's all got to be embodied.
Yeah.
It's all got to be embodied. I mean, it's so if you think of it, and I know from your cousin's spot on right with this stopping, like, and meeting yourself. It's amazing how busy we are in the world that we live in. It's like go, 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 and go do, and you've got calendars, and you've got diaries, and you've got meetings, and you've planned Christmas holidays, and you plan next year's Christmas holidays, and it's just go, go, go. So you're constantly living with these open tabs of these pockets of things happening, of the doings. So to actually stop yourself and to sit in your space, like in this now moment, and not have the noise of all those open tabs with people in your space, with places in your space, with this diary in your space, with work and what have you. It is a proper art to come back to yourself. It's a frequency thing. I saw something the other day with like being still within yourself and being in your heart space and actually being present, like be like a tree, puts you in a frequency. It's like, I think it's 432 hertz or something. Whereas a businessman or someone or woman who's just on that edge of go, go, go sits on a frequency of over 600 kilohertz. I think it's kilohertz. And when you are that distant from yourself, you're in a whole nother world. Like it's like meeting yourself for the first time when you've actually got to sit, and it's an energy place. So I had a big download in 2019, which is what I based my coaching on, was the art of being, like how to be in your own body, because we've been so busied out of our beings into doing that it's now, I know for myself, I had to re-meet myself on every single level. I kept thinking I had to go, because like you, also being a parent, being a businesswoman, being a friend, being whatever role I was playing, I was like, where's the being me in all of this? And I didn't even know it existed, like so people pleasing. Yes, I'll do this for you. And yes, I'll do this for you. And I'm sure I'll do. By the end of the day, it's like, what have I done for me? But I didn't realize I had to do it for me. So this journey of like stopping and saying, no, like the company, you say companies making people happy within their buildings, that happy story. And that's what I've based my coaching on. And I think I've been a life coach my entire life. But then I thought I better go get the certificate. You know, the world wanted a certificate. In the art of being is meeting oneself first in your entirety. But that's a lifelong exercise. But luckily what's happening now is that the universe and the world and with everything that's going on, that's speeding it up for one. So I like had a crash course, like everything crashed. Right, Suzie, you're going to meet you at the bottom of all of this pile of debris of snot and tears and oh my God, what am I doing with my life? And I'm useless and all the self-talk. Was to like pick up the pieces of me and say, and meet me. Like how many of us have truly met us at a core level, at a soul level? And yeah, I have over the last few years, I went through the dark night of the soul. I had to meet the bottom of the pit of my shadow, of everything that I had spoken myself of the non-truth. I had to alchemize all of that energy of what wasn't me, back to my happy. And now I can just sit in a space and I don't even need a leaf or a twig or a tree or a person to please me. It's an inside feeling. And that's what this journey's been on. And when people say, oh, it's an inside job, it's like, what on earth are you talking about? It's when all those tabs outside are closed. Nothing outside needs to make me happy. Not a handbag, not a friend, not a piece of food or chocolate, a cup of tea, not the weather. Nothing externally has to come and be added to me to say, Suzie, you'll be happy now. Not a relationship, nothing. Now it is Suzie's happy in Suzie because I'm me. And when you know what the me is, and the me is in the space of wholeness. So, and yeah, I guess I'm just like this curious child now of meeting new aspects of me. And I'm bulletproof when it comes to the happy now, because you can throw anything at me. It's an inside job of really alchemizing those emotions, saying, you know what, this isn't my stuff. Like I've cleared so much stuff of other people's stuff. You know, Samir, when we're born, so here's a little 101. When we're born, we are this essence of love. I mean, we are life. So we're born into a frequency family with, and a radio station with everybody's input. You know, you've got the mother manager, the father manager, all the sibling managers, the pets, the neighborhood, all creates a soup of frequency. So here comes your little beady beep in it. You're going to adapt according to the song that is sung around you. And that is what we've come in to do. We've come into this classroom of life with all these characters around us in order for us to find ourselves, our BDB, completely in its entirety, on our own, with not realizing, or with then learning that all the soup around us isn't our stuff. But that comes with processing, that comes with development, that comes with, as the older we get, the maturer we get, we realize, hang on a sec, why am I carrying other people's unhappy along with me? Why am I living their lives? Why am I in their lane? Why am I paying too much attention to their stories and taking on their stuff? Why am I giving my happy energy away? I was leaking. I was like a sieve. I was leaking my happy energy with everybody, and I was depleted with my own space. So when I realized and learned that all these energies around me were not serving me, then I started withdrawing and clearing up, not my stuff, not my stuff. So happy for you, but not my stuff. You know, I'll be I'll be an empath for you. I'll be totally compassionate and everything, but I'm not owning it. So every single day, I literally wake up in the morning, and I do it before I go to bed, and I actually do it throughout the day as well, but mostly in the morning and the evening. I give myself such a good shake outside. I like shake all my pixels. I talk in pixels, I see in pixels, I am in pixels. I shake off all the dust from the night or from the day, get back into all my pixels, and consolidate my happy, like constantly moving in checking in on what my feelings are, that I'm not taking on other people's stuff. But it's a process, and it's taken years to perfect, and I'm expand on it every day, you know, as I feel the energies come in. And it's such an important thing to own one's own happy, but there is an art to it, and it doesn't happen overnight, because worlds are created from that happy space where you're in control of your emotions and how you feel. And you know that as well.
I think it's also, for me at least, I call it the self. And it's like the essence of who we are. That is the self, in, like with a capital S. And it's when we cultivate self-awareness and we practice presence that we start being able to more clearly identify what our stuff is, and also like what other people's stuff is. And by delving into the self, it's not just about understanding your gifts and your talents and your purpose or anything like that. It's just about giving yourself permission to be yourself. Because a lot of us are waiting for external validation or external permission to be who we are. And we don't actually need it. We just need to give ourselves permission to engage with and to cultivate the self. And yeah, and along my journey also, one of my lecturers, well, I was really privileged to be able to study in a experiential and a way that was not theory based. It's like, this is the theory, let's use it on ourselves. And the lecturer told us that, you know, you can only assist or help other people as far as you've helped yourself. And what that did for me was it allowed me to realize the importance of self-work. So I can't go out into the communities and do the work I do now if I didn't work on my own stuff and process my own stuff. And for a long time, I also held myself back from doing the work also, because I was like, you know, I first need to heal properly. I need to tick all the boxes. And then I just caught myself and I was like, what are you doing? Because self-development, cultivating self-awareness, self-work, and healing it's an ongoing process. It's not boxes that we can tick. It's something that it's a journey that we're on from the first breath we take to the last, and even before and beyond, depending on belief system and belief structure as well. And I think by cultivating self awareness and better understanding the self, we start having this sense of deep peace within our being, this calm. And I don't know about you, Suzie, but for me, it's like everything starts with the breath first. It's like we exist because of the breath of the Supreme that's been breathed into our being that has allowed us to exist. And coming back to our breath is such a powerful practice. And when I say our breath, I don't mean just like how we normally breathe, because for some reason it's like we've forgotten how to breathe. And I mean, when Malik was young and he was still a baby, and even when I looked at other babies, the way to see that they're like still alive or they're still there, you see their tummies like moving up and down. But when you look at most adults, you'll see the chest moving, not the stomach. And abdominal breathing is so powerful because it takes in air and it allows it to go through your entire body. And it affects physiology, it affects mindset, and it affects our overall health as well. And by just breathing properly or taking a moment out just to have even 5 deep breaths, it brings you fully into the moment that we're in now. And that's the start of cultivating yourself. It's the start of relaxation exercises. It's the start of any journey we wish to take. So before I personally start anything, I take at least 5 deep breaths and then I'll go for it. And I mean, at any time of the day, it's a simple thing that is available to everybody, irrespective of what walk of life we come from. We always have our breath.
But if you think of it, we are breath. I mean, we
Yeah.
actually are it. So if we had to pixelate ourselves and put us in all our dots, then we mix with the air and we
Mm.
are breathing ourselves. We are the breath, and taking that breath, all of your pixels in your entire body are receiving the new air coming through you. So you're right. The breathing, humans are mostly, certainly in the Western world, we're not taught how to breathe. I mean, imagine if we had exercises at school of breathing and of calming one's entire nervous system. Breathing takes, it's a nervous system calmer. When your nervous system calms down, your ripple changes, your entire trajectory of your story, if you're in a panic mode there and then, or whatever mode you're in, to change it, your entire ripple changes, and you are your ripple address. So we're all just radio stations. Everything is energy. You will tune in then with your breath and attract back what you match. So if you're not breathing, you're bringing in this more constricted form of life back to you, as opposed to allowing your entire breathing breath body to actually breathe. And I mean, if you think of it, your whole mind, your brain gets new movement. You just calm everything down. You get new perspective. Breathing is essential. And so I know when we spoke to put our messages and to put our series and to put our spiritual journeys, it's not even spiritual journeys, our human being journeys that we are living. And we are now seeing it and being it from a different perspective. This journey to self-discovery is a journey where you, or I just know me, you open yourself up to doing things that you, like, people raise their eyebrows and they go, "You're doing what?" Because it's been so tabooed or laughed at, you know, the Charlies and the Suzies. That's why we had to be Charlies and Suzies rather than the Samiras and Suzanne. You know, the joke of the class, or the jokester to keep everyone happy. And yeah, it's a big thing when you realize taking time for yourself to breathe, to reset your frequency, to learning about who you are as energy beings. And I'm looking forward to sharing what I share with my coaching clients and with our energy beings. But it's a big thing to come back to yourself, to realize with the simplest things, breathing, barefoot outside. I'm staying on a property now that's got 6 oak trees. And so I'm like so grounded. I'm like, I'm a tree. Like, even I've had squirrels come, they come up to me and the birds are all around me. I have so much fun, I must admit. And that's just from calming my whole nervous system down, to getting off my phone, to closing all those tabs of noise, of things that are happening around me, and just sitting in the space of feeling. We're these sensory beings, Samir, and we have not been yet, let's say, because it's time now as the human classroom and as the human species, we have not been shown in our entirety who we actually are. So this journey back to now, back to presence, back to happy, back to control, not even controlling, being my own steering wheel, all through the breath. Like, how are you breathing now? It's like, how are you feeling now? And these sensory beings that we have, you know, all of our senses are completely dumbed down, totally dumbed down, from our hearing, our sight, our taste, touch. People don't know how to be touched. People don't know how to hear. They don't listen and they don't hear. People aren't seeing. And so I say that because I know I wasn't. Like, I can point fingers at others, but I had to point all the fingers to me first. You know, how was I seeing others? How was I actually engaging and listening? My pet hate, don't come to me and have a conversation with me while you're on your phone. Like, I'll stop talking. It's the most unpresent thing that you could do. So rather, don't have a conversation with me. If you want to know how I am, engage with me, you know. And presence is a topic that we can talk for hours of. Until you're present with yourself, how can you be present with others in your relationships, intimately, with your children, with your colleagues, with nature? And all of that had to breathe, had to come back to the breath, had to come back to now, had to, like, oh my God, I'm actually here, like here now, and I don't have a noisy mind. So it's a big thing to get out of your head and come back into here, your heart, and just be that present soul. It's a frequency, a very powerful frequency. It's a very powerful frequency, being #home in your own body. So yeah, breathing, a big thing. So I like that. Breathing and shaking, because breathing and shaking, that works for me.
And I think that's also what brought us together to start this channel. Basically looking at consciousness, looking at exploring the self, looking at spirituality, sexuality, and all the different levels of what it means to be human. And I think a large part of what it is to be human is actually to look at intimacy. And I know in the past, when I mentioned the word intimacy, a lot of people immediately think sex. And I mean, that's only
Little
one
do,
aspect.
little do they know.
Because intimacy is like, it impacts every aspect of our lives. And it starts with ourself first, looking at our mental health, our physical health, our social or relational well-being, our financial or career health, our um, relation with our spouse or partner or children, or all of those as well, looking at our academic, educational, learning journeys as well. And all of those have attachments or associations with intimacy and are actually areas where we share intimacy with others as well. And it's not necessary, intimacy is not just between partners, also, it's between friends, it's between family, it's between strangers potentially. And with intimacy comes this notion of vulnerability, where in order to increase connection and intimacy, there's a level of vulnerability that we need to be having. And it's important for safe spaces to be who we are. And for me, vulnerability is, so I know there's this whole thing of vulnerability is weakness that's been floating around society, but I don't think so. I think in this fast paced society that we live in, where everything is about being hard and fast and ruthless, maintaining a soft heart and vulnerability is actually immensely powerful.
It's very
And
powerful.
the way that I view vulnerability, at least, is the sharing of our soul with another. Because as the purest, the most naked we can be is on a soul level. And it's sharing that soul with someone else. And man, does it take courage, because it's courageously revealing yourself to another. Yeah.
It's a big thing being nakedly vulnerable in one's being. It's a big
Mm,
thing to be in your truth and to have the conscious awareness of who we are as human
mm,
beings, to be vulnerable in all aspects of self, and especially
yeah.
in the child within ourselves. It's a whole new, being vulnerable is like the new sexy. I mean, it's like
Mm,
it's I think, and as I've observed and as I've experienced over the last few years, and especially with the way the world is evolving at this rapid rate, there's a new person evolving out there. There's a new being coming into existence that's growing from the old model, let's say. And it really is coming from a space where vulnerability is key, where it's okay to be a nice guy. It's okay to be a nice girl. It's okay to be kind. It's okay to be compassionate
mm,
and empathetic. It's okay. It's okay to say a kind word, to smile at someone, to help with their groceries, to open a door, to hold a chair out. It's okay to pay a compliment. It's okay, like in that vulnerable state where it's been so judged of, like, what do they want? What do they want? Why are they being nice to me? But this new world now is bringing people into, and I know it with me, it's brought me into my heart. But I had to have the love story with me first to say it's okay to be vulnerable with me, and to realize I've had all these layers that not everybody's understood, and
mm,
so many others have judged. but then I've been judging myself. So it's okay to come back to me, and it's okay to be on this journey. You know, Samira, it's so funny when I started realizing what a journey I was of spirituality, of really finding out who I am at a deeper level in that self node, you know. It's a huge thing to hide. I mean, I hid myself from the world. It's like being this vulnerable. And even my YouTube channel, everything came to a grinding halt. How could I put myself out into the world of being this vulnerable person? And I realized and have realized on this path of vulnerability, in order to have found and to have embraced and embodied and accepted and met my vulnerability, I'm able to fully embody it and hold that space for those, that safe space for the others to be vulnerable. Because being there, done that, I get it. I've got the t-shirt. And being vulnerable is so powerful. I have never in my existence felt so powerful in who I am in this moment than I have ever before in my life. Before, I was insecure of what people think and finger pointing. Meantime, it really was only me on me, and bringing myself back to me and more of me. But being vulnerable, and I think you know as well, I was a great one for bursting into tears on stage in my emotions. I was picking up so much of the room that it would come through me. So Suzie was the one that always standing on stage, give a burst into tears, and I was so vulnerable, but uncomfortably vulnerable then. Now it's all real. People with feelings and emotions and vulnerability, and it's time to come out. It's time to come out and show those pieces of one. It's time to be that child and play. It's time to be creative. It's time to, you want to dance. I put the music up every day and I dance. My new gym, just dancing. Beforehand, a couple of years ago, I didn't even know how to move. And even if people look at me and say, what is she doing? I don't give a toss anymore. Like, even, you know, everything's changed. And it's all coming back to one's own vulnerability state. Exactly what you say, it's a safe space. But I had to find it within me to be in that safe space, to create the safe space. So no, with us both being the coaches that we are in our different modalities and aspects, and people we create that space for, we've had to be vulnerable in our healing. And it's, I don't even know if it's healing. I don't really like that word. It's remembering. I like remembering who I am, and remembering who I am in my wholeness. I was born whole, and now I am coming back to my wholeness in my adulthood. But I love being vulnerably Suzie, Suzanne, mother, daughter, friend, whatever role I am, but Suzie on Suzie. I found my voice now, and I can now put my hand up. I don't even, you know, and say yes and no and whatever freely, purely from that safe space of vulnerability. The big thing to tumble all that down, to be exposed raw and real in that space. Yeah, it's a big thing. It's a big thing to put oneself out into the world, to say, hey, I'm back, I'm here, and yes, I get it, and it's new, and it's not about doing. The doing recipe doesn't work. It's about being. So now I can be the coach and the mentor and the spiritual guide that I am, because I am it. I'm embodied it. I've experienced it. I've had to put my hand up and say, you know, take me deep south. And I'm, throw me to the wolves, throw me to the wolves. It's a big thing being vulnerable in this world, and it's okay. And there's a new vulnerable being coming, human coming through. And these are I have found by leading yourself in this vulnerability, these are the new leaders of the world, the new leaders of communities, are the vulnerable ones that have really taken a step back and and taken time and taken the journey. Said, okay, I'm going to spend more time with me and get to know me, and I'm going to learn more, about what I actually am here to be on this planet. Now I get it. Now I get it. Now the happy is completely impregnated into that vulnerability, and it's part of my heartbeat. It is me. Yeah, and big thing being
Welcome.
vulnerable. Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to these conscious conversations we're going to take forward, and we'll pick our themes and share with what our journeys have been. So I'm so glad to have been on this journey alongside you on yours in where you're at, and thank you for who you are and the light that you shine in your communities and your home, but most importantly, the light you shine for you and for your journey and for the universe, the world that you are creating. Thank you for being of service in that light, because that's what it is, all the way back to light, from dark to light, and then you can be that light. So you certainly wear your light well.
Thank you, Suzie. So much love. And I think for me, like this journey of life that we're on, really depicts this cosmic dance that we are kind of going through. Because it's like we might be in the light, we might be in the dark, but either way, we like moving, we're dancing, we're going with the flow, and just embracing that we're on a journey. And each moment that we're in, it's like we should do our best, not to be necessarily be the best version of ourselves or anything else, but just to be present. And sometimes we're not ready to be vulnerable, and that is also okay.
Oh yeah,
It's like
it's
whatever we need
all
to
on time. It's all on
be,
time.
or yeah, whatever we need to be, or whatever we need to be doing in any moment, it's okay. And we should allow ourselves to process and to be where we are, even if where we are doesn't seem as bright and shiny as where we were. It's okay, because each moment passes. And the reality is that we can only be present in this moment. For the next moment is soon to be, and the past moment has already passed. It's gone. And the power that we truly hold is housed within this very moment. So let's live here and now. Let's dance together on this journey of life. And let's see, Suzie, where we take these conversations. Because I'm also extremely excited to be sharing and showing up for people, just giving out love and light.
Oh no, it's been a lonely journey, this awakening to self over the years and it can be a lonely journey. So I'm really excited to share it, and it's a big thing for me to speak it, because it's been quite a voice healing journey for me of really being able to speak my truth and being heard, and being being heard, really being heard has been so thank you for hearing me, and I'm really excited because I hear you, and I'm excited to share our experiences for those who are going through things, because there's a shift in the world, and the energies that are coming in are big light energies, and they're hitting humanity full on, and it is forcing us to crack our hearts open and to really acknowledge and, self, and look after self and be truthful
Yeah.
to self. So with all of this that's going on, there's a very bright outcome as long as we
Mm.
breathe. So Samir, I know your exercise for everyone is breathing 5 deep breaths, like your whole body, and shaking, like shake it off. I mean, it's like anything that's feeling yucky that's coming through one's system, that you feel this wave of emotion, anything that's not in a happy zone, shake it off, get it out of the pixels, because it comes into the body. If you don't shake it off, it goes into joints, it finds weak spots, and it will become dis-ease, as opposed to ease of frequency. So yeah, shake it off, and be kind. And it's okay. It's okay. I love that. It's okay. It's okay right now to feel extremely tired and say no to going out, go to bed. Like, it's okay. It's okay to go sit out at a tree and spend more time in nature and not be judged because you're not watching a TV show. It's okay to just do different things now and slow down, because from the slowing down is where you really anchor and meet yourself, and then a different world opens up, because it's inspired action then, and it's in truth. So yeah, thank you. It was really great to connect with you, and I think it's a great idea to share with what we've shared, because there are others out there that are going through this without the okay and the knowledge to know that there are other people. It is happening around. It is a real thing that we are evolving, and that we are having these emotions, and that we are having lives, like jobs, everything collapse around us. If it doesn't serve, it's going to fall away until you come to this peaceful place, and then you create from that space your passions. And so I've had to reinvent myself completely, even though I was doing a lot of my coaching. Now it's like really fine-tuned into coaching the co-creator, the new frequencies, the new, as you like you seeing the spark, and nurturing that, and balancing the energies within the beings. That's been a very big gift of mine, to balance the energies in the beings, properties. I've had some great projects over the last few years of really coming into myself with that. So yeah, shake it, breathe it, and everything is possible.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, so I think in closing, thank you for listening, and remember to breathe, to dance, to shake it off, and ideally just be and be you.
Oh, be you, and be grateful for you. I'm grateful for
Mm.
you. I'm grateful for me. I'm grateful for all of us and all of you who are listening. So we'll bring some exciting things to you. We've got a whole list of goodies that we want to share just from our hearts. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for listening. And thank you for seeing me. Thank you for, I see you. I see you. It's nice to see people with sparks in their eyes. Yeah, it's really good. My heart is full. And so I'm excited. So thank you. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank
Catch
you
up
for
soon.
taking this step. All right. You're a star. Until next time.
Definitely.